Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Ellen. So today, for our watercolor painting journey, I'm going to show you some techniques using wet on wet and blending and lifting and creating just a fun, loose watercolor butterfly. I mean, you can do this technique with any kind of object. It's just really fun and creative, and it's for any skill level. I mean, it's from advanced to intermediate to beginner. Anybody can do this. I'll show you how to draw a butterfly. Well, no, it's pretty simple, actually. And then we'll go into the techniques how I use to paint these wonderful, beautiful, abstract butterflies. Also, check out my Patreon. I have ad-free videos, traceables, exclusive tutorials, and a live stream in the top tier. It's just a place people go and support my channel, which I appreciate so much. We also have a Facebook group where we have weekly challenges and monthly giveaways. It's a lot of fun. People have been really enjoying that. And yeah, it's just a place people go and support my channel, and you can check out the link of that in the description of this tutorial. So without further ado, let's get painting the butterflies. All right, let me go over my supplies. I'm using a block from Fabriano. This is their bright white 100% cotton cold press. It's the purple one if you're looking for them. I usually find them cheaper on Jerry's Autorama. Sometimes you can find them cheap on sale on Amazon too. And I have the link to shop my supplies in the video in the description box. You can find that. So many people ask me where this is from. This is from Sylvan Clay Works. I don't have a link because I'm not sponsored or anything like that, but I was gifted this, and they sell out pretty quickly. So if you can get it, find one of them, and they're not cheap, by the way. Just let you know that. I have a Princeton 3/4 inch Velvet Touch Series brush, flat wash. I'll be using today, and we'll be using the number 8 long round for little details. So for this really kind of fun, super easy, I'm telling you, any skill level, and yet it's so much fun for all skill levels, right? Advanced to beginner, intermediate, whatever, is to paint something like this. And it's all about like water control and just moving color and paint around and not having to be so bogged down in super details, but just, again, color. Now, I'm going to show you the colors that I use, but please play around with other colors. You want to do more neutral colors, more, bluer tones, things like that. So for a butterfly, we're going to just draw the butterfly kind of shape and keep the pencil marks there. We're not going to erase them. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. So for the center, let me just sometimes it's easier to just show you this with a marker. And I'm going to go back and draw it with the pencil. But basically, curve shape here. I'm going to go down, kind of like a carrot in a little triangle, right? A wiggly triangle. And for the wings, up like a curve. And you can kind of like bring it down here. And then same thing here. We're kind of separating them. You can have them kind of connected if you want. Just like that. And you just follow the same thing on the other side. And then you just go like that with a little antennae. Now, it doesn't have to be perfect because that's the whole point of this exercise, is to make it imperfect but yet fun. So here I'm going to draw the same thing I just showed you. There's the center, and then the wing, shoot out, kind of bring it down, pull it in again. And I'm keeping all these pencil marks, by the way. Now, we're going to put in the pencil marks also little details. Here's a little antennae. You can kind of see them. It's a little faint, but you can kind of go in and draw this part of the butterfly, kind of like all these little different details. Here we go. Like that. Make the little lines that come from them. Like those little veins they have. They can have like those bullseye kind of things happening here. Little veins coming from around there. Little lines. I mean, we're not going to paint these, but we're just going to draw them in. Again. And then I'm going to have fun just playing with the paint and the brush. Just sketch in all those little details. If you go Google butterflies, and you'll see all different types. You could do colors that we're going to be doing. We're going to be doing different colors today, but you could be doing like monarch butterfly colors, which are oranges and like black, brown. So there's my little sketch. Can have like the little bullseyes kind of happening in here. Okay, once you sketch it in. Now we're just going to be playing with wet, super wet, wet on wet, wet on wet color. And I'll be using this brush mostly. And I'll only use the other one, this guy, towards the end, right? So, I'm going to grab some water on my brush. And this is burnt umber. Getting that loose. I'm getting some Paynes gray loose. I have bright rose over here, getting loose. And there's like brilliant orange. And I'll probably be playing with my ultramarine blue too. And I'm also going to mix. So we're going to have to just loosen these up. And now I'm going to take this brown and gray and I'll just start to kind of play with the center. I'm holding it on its chisel end like this, upright. I grab some water and have paper towel close by. See how I'm kind of tapping back. You kind of can't see it, but here we go. We're just going to start to put in color. Loose. Add in some darker color tones. And then I clean up my brush. Now I'm going to get really wet with the watercolor. Grabbing that pink. Mixing the brown with the pink. See, just tapping, moving the brush around, play around with that and grabbing more water. So the consistency of this is just like water tea. I'll grab more water on my brush and that's very, very, very wet. Look how wet that is. But I'm going to start to move the paint around with my brush. I'm twisting and turning it. Going like this. So it's brown, pinky color. I'll go down here now. See, I'm going to just get the energy of the brush moving this way. Again, I'll get some more water, play around with this. I'll tap my brush into ultramarine blue. Then go back with the water, moving around. You see where I'm going with this, guys? I'm not going to hit every single part of this butterfly. I'm going to leave some of it white. I'm just moving it around. Let me add a little blue out here. See, I'm just grabbing on the corner of the brush, kind of moving it around. A little bit of pigment goes a long way. Then I'm grabbing water and kind of mushing that paint out here. You can get really kind of fun now. I'm going right into the pigment of the orange and the pink while it's wet. See, this is the wet on wet part that we love. It's damp. Now I'm going to clean up my brush, grab some water and kind of get that really wet and move that around. And then go back in the brush again with the chisel end. And now you get that really wet intensity color. Grab a little bit of yellow. You see? And then I'm going to go back into here. It's like pinky brown. Right? Maybe I'll grab a little orange. I don't know. If it seems too much, you can kind of lift. So if you, this is another technique, lifting. Take the brush, lift it up, tap it in the paper towel, and you're lifting off the paint. And you have kind of like an atmosphere. Now, this color I wasn't happy with the pinky brown. I'm going to add a little bit of orange in there. I'm going to go back, thick, buttery. This is the brown with the Paynes gray. See, thick? It won't bleed as much. But I want that dark in there. See where I'm going with this? Now you can have a little bit of fun. I'll take that same thick paint and I'll start to put that under the wing on here. So now you've created like the negative painting because that's really light. And it could start to bleed and go like that. If that's too dark, you just kind of wipe it away. Take the brush, get some more water on it, kind of wipe it. This is how I play with color and brushes. See, it's the movement. So it's highlighting the wing, but I'm actually removing some of the real intensity of the paint because it's too much. It was too black. And you can go back in again. Maybe grab a little ultramarine blue, kind of bleed some of that color in. Oh, you can get really, 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 really inventive with your colors and butterflies. Going back and adding the pinks. Now see, here it wasn't wet, so it was just dry, wet on dry. I'm going to add the water. So something like this is really great to play with wet on wet and the intensity of the water. I'm going to add a little bit of orange in that one. I like leaving some of that white there, but I feel like this area is not great. So I'll kind of mush it. So whatever I did on this side, I can do on this side. I don't know if I'll put the black intensity in here, but we're going to start to play with both. So I'll grab the pinky brown. And look at my palette right now. It's just kind of like a fun mess. Let me just grab some pink itself. It's got a lot of brown there, so I have to clean up my brush. But now, so it's wet on dry. You see this is all dry here. This is still wet. You can still go in and tap more color. And now I'm going to clean off my brush, get some clean water, and just move this around. See? You can move it all the way out here. Look at that. So much fun. And I'm going to go down here. Get the water. Really kind of wet. The wings kind of out this way. Grab my ultramarine blue. You kind of want to kind of match the other side, but don't be bogged down in details. So I'm grabbing the pink and the orange colors. Orange is so intense. I love that brilliant orange. Look at that. Don't have to be perfect. I'll go back in here and tap some orange. And get that pink color. And you can make it really, really intense or not really intense. You could remove so much color if you wanted to. I'm gonna add a little more brown. And again, I'll clean up my brush and I'll kind of move it around. Sometimes I'll tap back. Just keep kind of grabbing color and playing with it. This blue area needs something. So I'm going back and adding some orange and some pink. Holding it on the chisel end. Getting little lines in there like veins that we see that we drew. We kind of drew those veins. And the separation, so you want to kind of do that. Same thing over here. Grabbing that. See, I'm just moving around my palette here. Twisting and turning that brush. All the fun you can have. Again, we can take that same situation we had over here on the other side. Now it's dry here. And put some of that black brown color. I'm going to grab some ultramarine blue, put that out. And then here again, I'm going to wisp it around. Kind of remove some of it. Just playing with color. Get that blue. Another thing we can do is when you take a paper towel and you crumple it up and you tap it on some of these areas. I'm going to go back in and add some more color here. And I'll show you that in a second. So, just take a paper towel, crumple it up. You see how you tippy tap and turn it? You've created some nice texture. And even here, I'm going to move this paint down a little bit. With the brush, grabbing more water. Just kind of getting that really loose. I don't want it to show too much of that paint. So you can go back and just remove it with paper towel and it creates a nice texture. So much fun. Right? Zoom down a little bit more. So here we're going to keep just playing, adding color with the wings. Whatever colors you have. I am going to add, I didn't talk about this, I'm sorry, gold at the end. I already previously did one. You can see it here, I'll show you. A little bit different. See how the wing comes up? And you can do like a million different types of butterflies. See, this is an ultramarine blue. I had the wing kind of coming up here. A little bit different. Go in and add, see, it's kind of purple. remove some of that paint. I'll put some paint out this way. Dry brush it, moving around. All right, add a little more pigment. Grays. Playing. So you add the gray. Oops. And take the brush to kind of wisp it around. I mean, this is such a fun thing to do. If you don't like butterflies, maybe try this kind of technique with the bee, right? You kind of are moving color and taking out and adding color. Going back in here, gonna add some more pink. See, I'm just kind of tapping it, and it's so wet that it bleeds in its own little fun way. So this is going to look a lot different than the other one I did, and that's the intention. You can do a million of these. Now this is dry. I'll go in and grab some water, and I'm going to grab darker tone, kind of peeking out this way, going into the center. Grab some pink. Start to play with putting in the lines and some of the edges if you want to. You don't have to do any of this, but it's a lot of fun. I'll add a little blue. Kind of want to mimic the other side. I love that blue next to the kind of orangey pink. You can have lots of fun with this color. So unlike my first one, this seems to be kind of like a race down here. I'm going to go and grab the brown and the Paynes gray again and get that center. Now that was kind of watery, so I'm going to grab a little thicker paint, almost like butter, but not quite, more like between cream and butter, and go put that color back in. So now you see it a little better. A little Paynes gray going in here and top. Just differentiate it more. If you want to go back in here, get that negative space in the butterfly. You see how the wing really kind of shines now? Put that darker color next to it. And then I'll just loosen it up down here. See the whole kind of dry brush thing going here, which means it's minimal paint when it hits that pad. Now if you don't like that look, you don't have to do that, and then you can kind of remove some of it, but I really like it. And now you can see the wings better. You can play around with some of this over here too. Maybe grab some blue. I'm never going to make the painting the same. The other one I had more pink over here, so I'm going to add some pink. You can just play for days. And like I said, if you don't like that, just sprinkle that up. Do a little twisty twist, remove some of it. And I'll go back in and add some pretty colors to this area. When you feel like you're almost done, we're going to go back in and add some nice pretty gold. So here I'm going and adding more color again. Twisting. That's pretty dry, so I'll go add more water so it bleeds better. And that bright rose color, which I love. You can go out and do like these little things like that, or go in and blend it. And add a little more color in here. Okay, so once this part is done, we're going to grab some gold paint. I'm just going to go add a little more color kind of happening in here. I didn't really necessarily like just like that black kind of color, maybe add some blue tones. Playing around with it. But you see how you go next to it with the darker color? You highlight the negative space and it becomes, you can really see it come to the foreground. Not necessary, but if you felt like doing it. It's just one way of doing something. And a little blue back in here. And you can get really kind of creative with this, all this. Grab some pink, can splatter some of it, which I didn't do in the other one. But play around with that. All right, we're gonna let this dry. But before we dry, we can, I'm just gonna grab some gold paint. If you want the gold paint to bleed in some areas, I'm activating my gold paint here with my brush. Like here, it's still wet. You can have like a nice bleed if you're just tapping in the brown with the gold. And same thing around here when you start to hit some of these areas. It's kind of fun. Do like a little bleed with the gold paint. And then we wait till it dries and come back in. If I feel like it's bleeding too much in here, I'll go back in and add a little bit deeper color. And when it's damp, I'll add it in again. All right, we're gonna let this guy dry. I do want to add another little line here real quick. Just looked at it and I'm like, I want to do that. All right, I'm gonna let it dry and we're gonna come back. Okay, once it's dry, grab the Princeton 8 long round, grab some of your gold paint. If you don't want to do gold paint, don't bother. And you can just kind of make some circles going around these like areas that we did. Adding some details, you can kind of make some little veins like we had before. It's personal preference. You don't even have to use gold. You could use any color you want. See, just put the lines. And you can put little dots or lines in the middle. I'm going to add some little gold around where the pencil marks were. Again, just go around. Doesn't have to be everywhere. I'm just doing touches of it. And like I said, you can use other colors. If you want to get a little more paint in here, go ahead. It really shines though, isn't it pretty? So play around with it. You can do a million of these butterflies. All different ways. Just a little bit of the gold goes a long way. And then for the antennae, just take some Paynes gray or brown, whatever color you want to use, and just kind of go up. You can start to use this again, wet on dry, and put in more details if you want the lines to be more visible. I like the blurriness of it down here. I put a couple in my first one, little gray lines kind of coming in here. You can see the little veins. It's up to you, but this is the essence. Sorry, essence of it all. Losing my voice. And that's it. Right? If you want to go and add pink, whatever color you want. Get creative. Have fun using the brush with the wet on wet. And you can remove paint, add paint. Don't remove too much though, because when you remove too much, you can kind of ruin the paper. But I love to do something like this. Like I said, you don't have to do butterfly. Think of other elements you'd like to do this with, this kind of technique. You're just loosely drawing it in and you're kind of like wisping the paint around, all around it. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed it. When you're doing wet on wet, you start off many different ways. You can start off really wet, loose paint, putting it in, tapping in, thicker paint, blah, blah, blah. You know, you saw me do this. And also wet on dry. So you put the wet paint on the dry paper, and then you grab the water and you kind of moved it in. Just fun to play with this kind of style and technique. If you have any questions in the comment section, please, if you haven't hit the bell notification button, please hit the bell notification button to know my tutorial is up. And if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. We have a lot of fun over here. All right, peeps. Thank you so much for stopping by my channel. Take care, and I'll speak to you soon.